In this 10-minute lesson, we're going to cover the role of management. So that's the functions of management and the importance of delegation and trust versus control. So what is the functions of a manager? Planning, organizing, coordinating, commanding, controlling, and delegation. So planning. Planning is a manager has to plan for the future of an organization, which involves a manager setting aims and objectives. For example, IKEA's goal is to become climate positive by 2030. So these aims is going to give a business a sense of direction and a sense of purpose, and the organization is going to have something to work towards. A manager must also plan for resources which are going to be needed. For example, increased advertising expenditure will be needed to increase our sales of fruit juices. Organizing. A manager cannot do everything in the organization. Hence, tasks will have to be delegated to others in the organization. And these people, they must have the right knowledge and the skills to do these tasks successfully. Hence, the manager has to organize the people and the resources. And an organizational chart will help see who has authority to do different jobs, and it helps make sure that two people are not doing the same job. Coordinating. Coordinating means bringing everyone in the organization together, so a manager can be good at organizing and planning, but they may fail to bring everyone together in the company. So different departments can be working in their own specialist area without actually communicating with anyone else in the different departments. For example, if the marketing department is not communicating with the operations department when launching a new product. Hence, a good manager will have to make sure that all departments in the company, they are working together to achieve their plans and goals. And this can be done through having regular meetings or having a project team. Commanding. So the tasks of management is guiding, leading, and supervising people. Managers must make sure that all supervisors and workers are keeping to their targets and deadlines. Managers must provide instructions and guidance as it is their responsibility to make sure that their tasks are carried out by the people below them in the organization. Controlling. So managers aims, try and measure and evaluate the work of all individuals and groups to make sure that they are on target. There is no point in a manager organizing and planning if they are going to fail to check if their aims are being met or not. If certain groups are failing to meet their objectives, it is a manager's job to take action. The manager must find out why the targets are not being met and correct the problem. What happens if there is no clear and effective management in organizations? There will be no sense of control or direction. There will be a lack of resources in the organization, which will mean a lack of output and a lack of profit. There will be no coordination between departments, and there will be no control of employees. Delegation. So a manager also has the responsibility of delegating, which means giving a subordinate the authority to perform a particular task. So the manager will give the authority to perform the task that is being delegated, not the final responsibility. So if the job is done badly by the subordinate, the manager is still responsible. What's the advantages of delegating for the manager? Managers can measure the success of their staff. They can see how well they have performed with the tasks that are delegated to them. Managers cannot do everything themselves, so delegating is going to help them with their workload. And the managers are less likely to make mistakes if some of the tasks are being done by their subordinates. What's the advantage of delegation for subordinates? Delegations will help train the workers, and it can help them make progress in the organization. The work can become more interesting and rewarding for the employee, and the employee is going to feel more important. Now, why might a manager not delegate? There are some managers who are reluctant to delegate, as they may be afraid that their subordinates might fail, and the managers want to control everything on their own. And there is a risk that the subordinate may do a better job than the manager, which may make the manager feel insecure. Now, why is it important to have good managers? It's going to increase the profitability of the business. It's going to motivate the employees. It's going to keep the cost of the business under control. It's going to give guidance and advice to the employees. And it's going to inspire the employees to achieve more. Now, here is the exam question where you have to explain 2 advantages and 2 disadvantages of VPs, restaurant managers delegating tasks to their assistant managers. Now, this is an 8-mark question. Pause the video here and have a go at the question and come back to see how to answer this question. Okay, here's an example of how you can answer this question. So again, the question is, we're going to explain 2 advantages and 2 disadvantages of VPs, restaurant managers delegating their tasks to their assistant managers. Now remember that this is an 8-mark question. So that means you will get 2 marks per advantage and disadvantage. Now remember, you're going to get 1 mark for just stating the advantage and disadvantage, but for 2 marks, you must explain the advantage and disadvantage. Let's have a look at some of the potential advantages and disadvantages you can have. So for example, restaurant managers, they cannot carry out all workloads themselves. So they must delegate to reduce the workload. That's 1 mark when you've just stated the advantage. Now, to get 2 marks, this will help them focus on other important tasks and make better decisions. That's your 2nd mark there. So you've stated the advantage and then you've stated your disadvantage. That's given you 2 marks. Then restaurant managers are less likely to make mistakes. That's 1 mark for stating another advantage. And then we've got to explain this advantage. So then you're going to say, as they can focus on specific tasks such as marketing new menus. That's your 2nd mark. So in total, you would get 4 marks in that section if you state 2 advantages and disadvantages, but then also explain them as well. Let's have a look at the disadvantages. So the first disadvantage would be that restaurant managers can lose some control over their subordinates. That's 1 mark. Now to explain that further, you would say this can make the reputation worse. That's your 2nd mark in that question, in that answer. Now for the second disadvantage, you're going to say restaurant managers may be reluctant to give up some control. That's your 1 mark. And then assistant managers, because assistant managers may do a good job at carrying out the delegated task. That's your 2nd mark. So remember, in this question, if you want to get all 8 marks, then you have to achieve 2 marks per advantage and disadvantage. So you have to write 1 mark for stating the advantage or disadvantage, and then the 2nd mark if you explain the advantage and disadvantage. Now, good luck. Subscribe to this channel for more 10-minute lessons and also social media, and come back for the next 10-minute lesson.